Gene, is there anything you want to announce before we get going?
Well, I think I mentioned this last time, but I'm trading now. So I'm very excited about that. And I guess I wanted to ask everybody if you would like to see what my results are, because I'll email them to you if you're interested. But I'm kind of excited about it. So that news is exciting. And then also, of course, we love when everyone joins us for Stock Analysis Friday on YouTube. And that is Stock Analysis Friday is on YouTube at 8 a.m. Pacific. And we've combined Stock Analysis Friday with the market review. And that's where Bennett gives you the update on all the Elliott wave counts, etc. So back to you, Ben.
All right, thanks. Just a little elaboration on Jean's trading here. So she's trading the NASDAQ. She's using prop firm, Apex prop firm, and she's doing pretty good. Jean is the most meticulous person I've ever seen in keeping records. She does not need TradeZilla because she creates her own, but she can tell you pretty much any statistics you want to know about her trading. And don't forget, she has not traded at
Ever.
all ever. Okay,
Yep.
until what, about 2 months ago now, or has it been a little more?
I'm on week 13.
Okay,
So I'm going to see if
so
I can even post the
a little
file
over
in
three
here.
months.
Hmm.
Okay. All right, so she's been going kind of for 3 months here, and she has not been trading any PA accounts, which are the funded accounts.
Not yet.
She's in learning mode, so she is trading evaluation accounts, and she's been working on a variety of different approaches and experimenting. But I think, what is your average daily win? Do you know that offhand?
I do. So revenue per day at the end of 12 weeks was $72.01 per day.
Per
And,
day
and
as an
it
average?
it ranged though. Here's the crazy thing. You get a couple of bad weeks and that wallops you. So I had a couple bad weeks. So I was at $300 and actually $297.02 a day, week 7. So I would say a third of the weeks I was over 200 a day. So
Okay, and you've been doing it, you said, for what, 13 weeks now?
12 weeks and I'm on week 13.
Okay, and how many weeks were you down?
Out of the 12, I was down 4.
4 weeks out of the 12. Okay.
And well, here's the crazy thing. So week 9 was my best week, and week 10 was my worst week, back to back. So very distressing.
Okay. And what did you learn? Anything that you pulled away from, let's just say, your worst week and your best week?
Yes. What I learned is it's easy to get distracted, and
Define distracted. What do you mean?
I wasn't placing my stops properly. And then also the psychology got me going. Once I started not doing well,
Did you get tilted?
yes, I was
All right. Let me
extremely tilted.
let me stop you there. Getting tilted means basically getting angry at the markets or
Yeah.
angry at whatever. And I don't care who you are and how calm you are. I mean, Gene is probably one of the most calmest people I've known.
I'm pretty calm.
And she's very methodical. So the more methodical you are, the less you think you're going to be subject to being become tilted. Not so in the markets. The markets have an uncanny ability, especially when you're day trading, to find your triggers and exploit them. And you have to become really good. The experience it takes to become good at this is a couple things. One, not only price structure, and we'll talk a little bit about that today, knowing the mechanics of the market and also knowing your setups and all that kind of stuff, but also knowing when your mood changes. And I experience this. I'll be starting out really good, then all of a sudden my mood will change. Maybe the market missed my target by a tick, or I got stopped out by a tick, and I start to get mad at that. And as soon as you get mad at something like that, you have to ask yourself, all right, are we being competitive and we want to get ahead, or are we going to start to revenge trade? And you have to know the distinction between the two, because as a trader, you need to know when to walk away, especially as a day trader. And the markets will be there tomorrow, and you'll be amazed. You'll be so pissed off for that given second, 5 minutes, or an hour. And as soon as you go to the gym and come back, or go do something else and come back next day, it's hard to remember what you were mad at. But that anger that you feel at the moment will affect and go into your trading and make you do stupid things. So tilted is a very big aspect in day trading, and very big in the maturity of a trader, of knowing when to identify it and walk away from it. All right, Gene, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's an important thing to share.
No, all good. And just, Faye, I know you requested my little thingamajiggies, and I'm sending it to you now. So
All right, so
let me know when you get it.
all right, so Jeannie, when you say you became distracted, what happened? Did the phone
Well,
ring, or did
oh,
you?
okay. So because as Ben says, and not everyone's like me, I'm like, you'll see my spreadsheet. I think I'll just email it to everybody at some point. So you'll see my spreadsheet. It's really meticulous. So because that helps me stay on track. So in order to compile my spreadsheet at the end of each day and the end of each week and the end of each month, I have to have data. Well, when I get distracted, you know what happens? I start just clicking the button and not writing down what I did. And that's when I go down the rabbit hole and get a little bit tilted,
Can't.
and it just doesn't end well.
Okay.
So
What about your best winning days? What does that make you feel?
then I'm really focused, and I'm following my rules. I'm not breaking my rules. I'm not wiggle rooming my rules. And yeah, like that one week, week 9, let's see, week 9 was my very best week. And I was very focused. And I
And
didn't trade that long. The other thing that I do differently than a lot of people, I just do an hour, because I just want to go in, make my money,
a
and
lot of
leave.
people do that. A lot of people
Yeah, yeah, it works for me.
tend
So
to do that.
sometimes what happens is, if I'm not doing well, I just keep going and going and going and going. And you have to know when to walk away
And when do you walk away?
after an hour. Or I have it
What?
written down: 3 losses in a row,
Okay.
$300 for a day down, or an hour, and then I'm done.
And you're using an ATM strategy, so you're always, as soon as you go in, you have your stop set.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have to adjust it. I'm learning that there's certain specifics that work better for me. So
And don't forget, we're talking about also prop trading. That's not the same as trading your own account, because there's so many specific rules in prop trading that actually make it more difficult. And you can go to any prop firm like Apex and go to the rules, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's a little bit more specific. All right. Well, how about when you have a great week? Do you feel like a trading god?
no.
Good. Okay. Because that's another thing. Sometimes, you got to be careful not to get too comfortable with the markets, because as soon as you think you got it figured out, you usually don't. Okay, and the market's very abrupt at showing you that. So
Well,
that's another issue.
I don't know if you remember this, Ben, but you remember the first, 5 or 6 weeks?
Hmm.
I was doing really good, and I was just following very basic rules, and you kept going, "You're doing so good." And I was like, "Yeah, well, it it's interesting because it can kind of catch you off guard." I don't know if getting too cocky is a good thing.
No, it's definitely not. But that is, a thing that, being human, we all suffer, because when things are going really well, you think you got it figured out, but and then you get a little laxed on your stops and your rules and so forth. All right. Well, I just kind of thought that was interesting to talk about that.
Yeah, and Faye, I just sent it to your inbox, so hopefully it got there. And then I think what I'll do is I'll send it to, maybe I'll do a little quick email just to, you guys, to let everybody know what they are. It's just kind of, I'm finding it interesting because this is new for me.
All right, great.
Yeah.
All right, great. The other thing too is that with prop accounts, I'll just finish this up and then we'll get going. With the prop accounts, especially a firm like Apex, you can have 20 accounts. And if you make only, let's say, $100 an average a day, well, you can copy trade that over to 20 accounts. And that's where the big money is. Now, likewise, if you have a losing streak, that gets copied too. So there's no free lunch. But the nice thing is you don't have to make $3,000 a day in one account. You can make very modest gains and copy trade that. So if you have an edge and you're limiting your, risk control and so forth, which limits the amount of money sometimes you can make because your trade size is going to vary, then you don't have to make a fortune on one account. You can make a very modest $100 to $200 a day, call it quits, and that can get duplicated over 20 accounts, and you can see how that can add up. All right, so there's a lot to be said with that style of trading, but you do have to know all the ins and outs and rules associated with the prop account that you choose. So anyway, I just kind of interesting stuff if you're into that. Some people are not even into day trading, but if you are, I think it's a great place to start out because you're also not risking your own money. All right, which leads us to the risks involved in trading, right? All right, so we all know there's risks. I always have to talk about this in the beginning of a webinar like this. We want you to realize that nothing's guaranteed in trading the financial markets. It's possible to lose some or all of your money trading. All right, your goal is to get an edge, exploit that edge with risk control. That's the key. If we talk about anything here that you want to act on, please run it by your financial advisor or whoever manages your money to be sure it's suitable for you, what the concepts we talk about, or even the suggestions we talk about are suitable for you. They should know that information since I don't know your personal information. Always trade with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. And if you need help in the actual money management area, I've got 2 great books on money management in front of you there. My new book, The Art of Trading, has been out now this year, and the reviews are starting to come in. And I'm glad to say they're excellent. So glad to hear that. The book is about 608 pages. So it's a very thorough, comprehensive book on trading the financial markets. And you may also want to pick up some of the other books like Elliott Wave Techniques Simplified, which is another book I wrote with McGraw-Hill. All right, and when we look at charts, many of you have our software because you're our clients already, and you can buy it a la carte. So if there's anything you want to add on, you certainly can. We have charting software, scanners, and risk control software. And if you're interested in day trading, here's the area we're going to recommend to you. Please use our coupon. Jeannie, I think you have the ability to put that up in the chat area for everybody. So if you wouldn't mind digging that out and putting that up there, it's a link with a...
Make you a deal.
Yeah.
How about you dig it out and put it up, and then I'll share my screen and show everybody my results.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds...
How do you like those apples?
All right.
And I even have that little drawing tool.
Sharing.
Can everybody see my screen? Just let me know.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Cool.
Can you guys see it now?
Can you guys see my screen? So I'm going to use this little pen thingamajiggy. So these are the totals, and what's interesting is the yellow are the weeks that I didn't do so good. So you can see this week, so not so good, but varying degrees of not so good. So week 3, I was down $58. Week 4, I was down $37. Week 8, I was down 100. Oh no, I take that back. That's wrong. So here's the revenue per week. So week 3, I was down $294. Week 6, I was down $150. Week 8, down $203. This was the bad week. I was tilted, Benny. Really tilted. Boy, did that make me mad. And I've come back. But the interesting thing is, though, even with all those tiltedness, what I find interesting is that if you're very controlled and you kind of pull away, I still was making $72 a day. And if I were copy trading on 10 accounts, that would be 720 a day.
Let me ask you a question. What was your largest drawdown amount? In other words, when you had an open position, how much did you go in the hole?
300.
Okay, because you can't go above 30% of your trailing drawdown. So if you have a $50,000 account with 2,500 bucks, you can't go in the hole more than 750 or you're done.
Right. So my rules are that if I'm down 300 or more in a day, I stop.
Okay. All right. Good.
But I remember this actual week. Remember this week 10, Benny?
Hmm. I do.
And
I,
I said,
I have
this,
lived
I
with you.
can't believe I did this. And you go, how did you do that? You didn't listen to your rules. I said, no, I did. I was just down 300 every single day.
And it happens.
So anyway,
Hopefully not often, but it happens.
yeah, well, I think it made me really collect myself. So I'm going to stop sharing. But anyway, I'll email this to you guys
Yeah.
so you can you know, kind of see how the Excel. Also too, I kind of had somebody help me. I'm not good at Excel, but it automatically tabulates everything so I don't have to do the math.
All right, so I put a link up. Thanks, Gene, for sharing all that. I put a link up there for the Apex funding that we have. We're an affiliate of them, and so you get a percentage off by using our affiliate link and that code. So there you have it. Okay. All right, and there's a lot of funding companies out there. You can do your own research and figure out which one you like the best. I use Apex; they've been around the longest. I think they're good for people starting out because the evaluation accounts, the starter accounts, are the cheapest, and they give you free data. Okay, so that's kind of a neat thing. I think most of them give you free data, but anyway, it's an easy way to get started. All right, so I thought today a little bit, if there's any questions, just let me know. All right, so there's two tabs at the bottom. The first tab, okay, that's for Gene's Excel thing, I think.
I was just talking to Faye.
Okay, so you got it. All right. Okay, so I wanted to talk about price structure unless there are specific questions out there from anybody out there. So if you're new to using the software and you need help getting around, or you just have a particular question on a setting or something, this is the place you ask it, okay? So feel free to chime in. All right, so what's price structure? Anybody, and you can turn on your mic if you want to talk to me about it. But what in your eyes is price structure? You can also use the chat area. Whatever is comfortable for you. That's the key. But you probably heard a lot of traders talk about price structure. Another way of saying it is context when you're trading. So you may be looking for certain patterns in the market to occur or certain signals, but you kind of want to make sure you're always looking at the price structure, the context in which the signals are occurring. Okay, I think that's really super important. And part of price structure could be simply looking for a bull flag, for example. You could be looking at a pyramid entry and making sure you're not getting in at a critical area where the market could be reversing instead. So all that is the process, and it doesn't matter what time frame you trade. All that is the process of what you want to go through when you're looking at price structure. So I think that's super, super important. And, for example, I'm just going to open up this chart on NVIDIA, and it could be any chart, doesn't matter, but I'll just take this one on NVIDIA. So when you have an uptrend in place, let's say you started looking at NVIDIA and you saw the breakout up here, and then you saw it pulling back using our indicators, and you see a green PTF, which indicates more highs are coming, right? So you kind of make a note of that. Let me just also redo my pointer. Oh, looks like it doesn't want to restart. Okay, so I'm just going to use my mouse. So when you have an area like this and you have a pullback, that creates a bit of structure here if it climbs out after that. So if you're looking to go long and you still have a green PTF and you think there's going to be more highs, when you see a pullback that abruptly stops at a certain bit of consolidation or structure, then that can be something you want to think about as support. Okay, so we'll draw a line like that, like that. So when you see something like that, and then you get a bounce from that, and maybe another pyramid here, then that's something you may want to consider taking, because prices, notice how prices came right down to structure, reversed. You got a bullish ART2B reversal as well for an early entry if you wanted to take that. So if you think about it here, what happened is that this context of looking at a previous area where the market reversed, and it's almost, you could call that an order block too. When you have that type of structure and the market goes back and retests it and it holds and bounces from that, then chances are you are going to get a bounce. And if you have a green PTF, you're probably looking at a 75% probability of eventual more highs. So keep that in mind. Now, also too, if you're going to go long here, all right, and you get a big move up, if you're a scalper and you see this many price bars in a row, and then you see a bearish price bar forming here near the top, you may want to take a few contracts off in anticipation of a pullback of some sort. And you can get really good at this in terms of once you put the time in to realize price structure and what's happened. And if you look at this, this also occurred right in this area here where you had previous price structure up there. Okay, so not unusual to get a pullback after that. And you never know exactly how deep it's going to go, but usually after the first run up, it can be fairly significant. And then this bottom held, and off to the races it went again. And then you also got a fair value gap in here, which is a gap between, takes three price bars to form a fair value gap, but there's one right there. So prices formed there, pulled back, and of course that's another entry as well. And you have the pyramids all pointing in your direction too. Then the PTF turns yellow. Okay, so we look for a change in structure, and then at that particular point, the market kind of went sideways. But this is just a very general way in which you can use price structure and context to kind of formulate trades. And it takes time and practice in the markets. You just got to get in there and you got to practice with this stuff until it becomes second nature to where you see these types of patterns. All right, now that's once a trend is underway, but you can have areas of consolidation like in here, which is another form of price structure right here. So you basically had that and that type of price structure too. So a breakout from that, okay, can lead to a significant trend as well. And you got a pyramid right at the top of that to go into. So with nothing red below it in terms of the indicators. So that could be another area that you look for, and that's a type of price structure. Another simple one is simply, and I'll erase these right here, is a bull flag. Okay, and you just take a trend line whenever you see a pullback like this in conjunction with the fact of a green PTF, then a breakout of that, a close above that particular trend line marking the bull flag is an entry, and your stop would go under the bottom right here, okay, right below that price bar there. So your risk is always defined, and then you could go for a 2-to-1 or just follow it on up until you get a reversal price bar like up in here if you wanted to get out of that. And notice here too, you have a pyramid here and green PTF. But a nice way to do that would be just take a trend line. You got two, one here, and then I would take a shorter one on this micro channel for scaling out there. Okay, so you've got a lot of different options on how to manage the trade. But bull flags are really very powerful in a significant trend, which is what we've seen a lot in the Nasdaq. But after 3 of them, I usually don't take them anymore. All right, because they get you're not going to have an endless supply of them. Okay, that type of thing. Any questions on that? And you can use this on any time frame, any market. And you may just want to start with a few. Go slow at first and start with a few. All right, so NVIDIA, how many people, by the way, are in NVIDIA right now? We're expecting kind of new highs on this. So in terms of an Elliott wave 3, you can certainly see it on the weekly chart, 3 probably going into a 4 right now. All right, so we kind of went up. We probably, looks pretty good here. We got a green PTF, so I think we're probably going to continue on up on NVIDIA, at least for the time being. So I think it looks pretty good. All right. And then Tesla's another one, all right, that came off its bottom right here. And notice, can anybody see on this chart something significant about where this bottom stopped down here? Anybody see anything significant down there? Going once, going twice. Think of structure. Okay, well, look. So it ended right in this area here where there was structure before. Okay. Market came down, stopped, and look at this. Structure again. Notice there was not much structure. There was a little bit here, actually. So this would have been the first place you would have expected some type of rebound, and you got it. You got a little bit. Okay, so if you were a scalper, you may have taken that. But if you looked at the longer term charts in conjunction, you would know that more selling would be coming. And of course, you've got a red pyramid as well. All right, that through the follow through anyway. So at that particular point, market heads down to the next structure. So just knowing structures can be a big deal. In fact, I know quite a few day traders that do nothing but trade support and resistance structures. Okay, so that's another method. All right. So what I would focus on is kind of getting a handle. Read whatever you can. I'm going to put in the link another excellent course on price structure. I don't know if you guys ever heard or know of Al Brooks, but he's been around a long time, and he's considered, I guess, the godfather of price structure. You can learn a lot from him. But we also have an affiliate association with him. All right. And I usually only do affiliate associations with people that are, I think, of high caliber. So I'm pretty kind of, I get asked a lot to be an affiliate or associate of many of these firms out there because we've been in business now over 30 years, just about. And I'm pretty particular on who I go with. So Al Brooks is one that I think is very, very good and very real. And he can teach you a lot about price structure, really important stuff. The other thing that I think is kind of interesting, if you're in a trend and it's a pretty powerful trend, making more highs and so forth and so on, then you may want to consider also when you're looking at targets, for example, in this big move up here, we had a couple things occur. Okay, we had a pullback and we broke the high, and then we had another large price bar here. When you see a large price bar like that, grab basically your risk to reward and set it to 1 to 1. And Usually what happens if, this area here becomes an area of high probability turnaround. So that's an area where you should think about taking profits anywhere from 50% above. And let's just see how it worked on this one here. This was a long price bar here, and look where it ended down here. So that's a pretty powerful, significant uh, bit of information that I think is kind of good and falls under the realm of price action, so to speak. Okay. So that type of thing can be quite helpful as well. Even when you're day trading, okay, you can use that type of analysis. So it kind of gives you a ballpark. The other thing I think that's real good is that if you have an uptrend in place and you couldn't get in early, wait, don't chase it, because there is something referred to as, for example, in a situation like this, you have a movement up here like this. Wrong one. Let me use the fibs. So you have a movement here. If you have a pretty strong trend up, you don't want to be buying in this upper area, because that's considered the premium part of the trend. And this is more the discount area down here. So your institutions are going to be buying in the discount and selling in the premium. So you kind of want to be careful about getting into extended trends. Okay. All right. Mike is, let's see, both Tesla and Nevada from recent lows, got to head to work and wondering if recording is available. Cheers. Hi, Mike. Yeah, we'll record this and put this into the YouTube session, okay, on our channel. Thanks for coming by.
So Ben, how about you show everybody on YouTube where we're putting them?
You know what? That's a good idea.
Not a bad idea.
You're so smart.
I
All right,
know.
let's see what we got here.
The other good thing is the Stock Analysis Friday recordings are there too.
Yep. Yeah, everything is there. Okay, give me a second. I just got to bring up my browser correctly. All right. Anybody else have anything? Gene, you have anything else you want to talk about? I'm looking this thing up.
I don't. If anyone has other questions though for Ben, that's always now's a good time to type them in and ask away.
Okay.
How about if everybody tells us how they're doing? How are you guys all doing?
Also, too, let me just while they're doing that, let me just here's the website, here's the YouTube channel, and you can access this through our website. But what I'll do is I'm going to copy it right here, and I'll put that in the chat area, so you can bookmark that. And it's free to become a member. You do have to have. They make you, I think, create your own YouTube channel, but they're free and you can just make one up. But the idea is that we post everything. So we have a different thing called playlists up here. And if you click on that, it has Stock Analysis Friday, software, futures day trading room. We don't post that much in there because that kind of stuff is for our members only. But also, too, past live streams is there as well. We're going to create one for client support, but currently we've had that hidden, and I think we're going to open that up as well. So, that's kind of what's available there. But in any case, everything that we record here goes into our YouTube channel. And for right now, you can access our client support webinars by logging into the VIP portal and then go to recordings there, and it will take you into that area.
So Ben, though, you can get client support just on the front page. It shows.
Yeah, I know we just changed that. They used to be totally private. Okay, excellent.
All right. You guys all are doing great. So thanks for joining.
All right, and we'll see you, I guess, next month then.
And same channel, same link. And client support is once a month on the third Wednesday of every month at 3 p.m. Pacific time.
And Stock Analysis Friday is every Friday. So
correct. Thanks, Faye.
Okay. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.